Hey everybody, and welcome to our next Divot Tips webinar that I'm super excited to present to you. My name is Whitney Blankenship. I am the CM for Divot, and I'm here with Raúl Galera of ReferralCandy, and we are going to teach you how to reduce your customer acquisition cost through customer retention and referral programs. So thanks again for joining us today. We're going to talk for about 20-25 minutes or so. And then we'll have about 5-10 minutes at the end for some Q&A. And what we're going to do is we're going to teach you how you can reduce marketing costs with referral programs, how you can boost your revenue by focusing on customer loyalty and retention, and how you can use these retention strategies to reduce your customer acquisition cost. If you can't stay throughout the webinar till the end, I mean, that's perfectly fine. We'll send you a copy of the webinar afterwards. And stay the entire time if you can, because attendees get a free gift at the end of the webinar, which I'm super excited to talk to you about. At any time during the webinar, if you have a question, pop it in the question box and we will answer them at the end. And if we don't get to it, we will definitely send you an email and answer your question. So, hey, Raúl, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
And thanks so much for joining us. I'm really excited for this. So I'm going to start off with my part of the webinar, and we're just going to go ahead and jump in headfirst. Why is customer acquisition cost relevant? And what is it exactly? Customer acquisition cost is this idea of how much you spend per new customer. How much are you spending in your marketing costs to just obtain one new customer? Now, reducing customer acquisition cost is one of the easiest and most sustainable ways to increase your revenue, because if you maintain your revenue, you don't even have to touch your conversion rate. If you maintain your revenue and you're decreasing your costs, you make more money. That's business 101. And calculating customer acquisition cost is insanely simple. You just take your marketing spend and you divide it by the number of new customers that you obtain during that period. Now, you can either do this globally, you can do it by channel, which I just want to point out that I recommend that because that's a really good way to figure out which channels are working the hardest for you. Or you can do it based on the entire cost it takes to run your business divided by new customers. Now, we're going to focus on marketing spend because that's what we can control. This is what we can look at and what we can analyze. So we have 4 main strategies for you to reduce your customer acquisition cost, and we'll just jump right in with the first one. Focus on the marketing channels that give you the best ROI. The very first step that you're going to take in reducing your customer acquisition cost is seeing where you're overspending in your marketing spend. There's no harm in experimenting with different channels, especially paid channels. But the point is, don't sink all of your marketing budget into one basket. You have to look at your data for which of your marketing channels are going to give you the biggest return. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at this example. These are a bunch of paid channels for the store, and we can see we've got a bit to work with. The idea here is to look at our data and decide which channels are working the best for us and which don't. That way we can shift our budget to the channels where our budget is actually going to work harder for our online stores. The first thing that really jumps out at me is the customer acquisition cost for Facebook ads. That's crazy high. 174 pounds for a new customer with a 0.28 conversion rate. This channel isn't doing a whole lot for you. It's got the highest CAC, lowest revenue, lowest AOV, even the lowest visitor count. We can really determine that this channel is maybe not working right. And this could be a targeting issue. It could be several different issues. The point is that maybe it's time to move budget away from this channel in particular. Now, the second thing that really jumps out at me is the marketing cost for Google AdWords, which is significantly higher than any other marketing spend in any other channel. Now, having the highest marketing cost isn't necessarily a bad thing if it's giving you a high enough return on investment. And here we definitely have a 138% ROI. However, AdWords is only the 3rd highest revenue stream for all your paid channels. Your AOV is second to worst, and the conversion rate is second to lowest as well. And this could definitely be a targeting issue. So this is very disproportionate to the amount of money that we're paying for this channel. And I want to circle back to that targeting issue I was talking about earlier, because this is really important when you're talking about customer acquisition cost. It's not better to spend 100,000 pounds or euro, whatever you use, to cast a really, really large net if you can spend 2,000 to cast a smaller, more targeted net and capture the right customers. So it's not to say that this channel isn't working, because it's definitely generating revenue for you and more revenue than you're spending, but there's always room for improvement, and perhaps we can shift some of this enormous budget to a channel that is working harder, which brings me to the next thing that really jumps out at me here, which is Zanox, and it has a 2.69 conversion rate, which is phenomenal. It's got the highest conversion rate, the second lowest customer acquisition cost, one of the lower marketing costs, a really decent AOV at over 100 pounds, and it's your second highest revenue generator. So this is definitely a channel that's worth investing in. Now, I do want to mention email, just because this has your highest revenue, your highest average order value, your lowest marketing cost. You're spending next to nothing for a new customer, and it's your highest revenue generator. So this is a great channel worth investing in. However, this channel stands apart from the others because when you have a customer's email address, the customer has already entered your sales funnel. They already have a higher intent to purchase. So this leaves us with our top marketing channel as Zanox. So perhaps it's time to shift some of the budget away from AdWords, away from Facebook, and kind of push it to Zanox, which is going to give you a higher return on investment. Not necessarily all of it, but a significant amount can really reduce your customer acquisition cost. So now we're going to move on to our second biggest strategy, which is to perfect your unique selling proposition or your unique selling point, whichever you prefer. So the idea here is to answer the question, why should your customer purchase from you over their competitor? Why is it more interesting to shop with you? Why is it a no-brainer? And this is really the question that you need to ask, you need to answer, and you need to answer it in all of your marketing messages. So your USP can be literally anything. Your differentiation point, it can be just about anything. It could be price. You could have the lowest prices on the market. It could be quality. It could be that the quality of your products are so high, so much higher than anybody else's that it just makes sense to shop with you. It could be like Amazon. You could have the fastest or the most free, lowest costing shipping that exists out there. It could be that you offer a phenomenal customer experience to your customers. And put a note on that because we're going to come back and we're going to talk about it later. It could be that you're creating an amazing brand community around your products and around your store. And if you want a great example of a company that has done that and has nailed it, it's Apple. Definitely look at the way that they have created a community and an identity around their brand. And then it could also be a rewards or a referral program. These make it more advantageous for the customer to shop with you and add to an incredible customer experience. And it could be something even, silly, like offering free socks with every order. And don't laugh because I've actually had this happen. I was testing a social media tool, and when I purchased it, they sent me a pair of free socks that I still have. So it's definitely not out of the realm of possibilities. Now, when you're talking about USP, this is something that you want to make blindingly obvious and apparent everywhere the customer interacts with your brand. For example, we have ModCloth here, and this is going to be personalized for me because I am an international customer, but the first thing that I see when I get on their page is free international shipping on orders of $75 or more, which is a relatively low threshold. And it's something that I can't find at any other retailer that exists. If you scroll a little bit further down the page, you can actually see their USP in black and white. ModCloth provides an exciting and engaging online shopping experience for everyone in search of vintage women's fashion with fabulous flair. Now, that tells you exactly what they're looking for in a customer. It tells you what the customer can expect from them. This is the perfect USP. This is a selling proposition that will be apparent in and should be apparent in their photos, in their products, in their product descriptions, in their social media posts, in every touch point possibility that they could have with their customer. Why is this important? Because at the end of the day, you want to cast a really targeted net. You want to bring in the right customer. You don't just want anybody. If you just try to target anybody, you're going to have a high bounce rate. You're not going to, you're going to be spending more on those clicks, especially in CPC, to bring people that aren't interested in your product. But if you're targeting the right people with the right message at the right time, you're going to drive down your customer acquisition cost easily. Which brings me to our next big strategy. Invest in your best customer. The best customer acquisitions cost strategy is to focus on retaining the customers that you already have. New customers are very important. It's always important to get fresh blood in there. However, it costs 5 times more to attract a new customer than to keep an existing one. Why? Because they already know your store. They already trust you. Not only are returning customers cheaper to reconvert, but you'll make more money than just a one-time customer. In fact, 40% of all online revenue comes from only 8% of customers, which are repeat customers. In fact, we actually took a look at this with Divot. We wanted to see how this affected our merchants. And as it turns out, new customers have an average order value of 108 euro, whereas repeat customers only had about 60 euro. Now that might seem like it's a bit converse to what I just said. However, a repeat customer coming back just twice will already make you more money than your new customer spending 100 euro. And this is when it boils down to customer lifetime value. Customer lifetime value is this idea that you calculate how much money a customer will make you over the course of their lifetime purchasing from your store. Now, this is a really easy thing to figure out. You take the months or the years in the customer lifetime and you multiply this by the average order value. And if you don't have your customer lifetime duration set up yet, if you don't know what that is for sure, you can guesstimate and you can get an idea for who your best customers are. Now let's look at this practically. The average order value for this customer in particular is about 55 euro and 89 cents. Over a 12-month period, this customer ordered 15 times. Now that counts as an order per month rate of about 1.25. So let's say that the customer will be at this shop for another 5 years. That makes for a nice clean 75 more orders. Multiplying by that, by the AOV gives us 4,191 euro and 75 cents. Let's just say that the customer, the store spent 500 euro to get this customer. The total value that the customer earned this store was 3,692 euro, which is ultimately worth spending. These are the kinds of customers that you want to attract. You want the ones that are going to spend a significant amount and they're going to come back for more time and time again. But the big question is, how do you keep your customers coming back for more? How do you retain them and make sure that they're not going to go anywhere else, that they're not going to seek what they're looking for elsewhere? The biggest thing that you can do is bringing us to our fourth point, focus on customer retention strategies. And the best way that you can do this is to provide outstanding customer service and experience. This goes so much further than user experience. It goes so much further than just your site. What do you offer that no one else can do? And this is your unique selling point. This is what you want to communicate to your customer. Now, one of the best ways to provide an outstanding customer service experience is to offer a loyalty or a referral program. These programs are really great at showing your customer that they are valued. And the idea behind these programs is that, and I'm going to sound like a broken record here, you have to make it more advantageous to shop with you over your competitor. And it's not just about coming back, but it's also about how much they spend. Because actually, customers who subscribe to a loyalty rewards program end up spending 13.71% more than those who don't. And if you want to be able to transform your customers into your own marketers and your brand ambassadors, add a referral program to pack a punch to your marketing efforts. Now, right now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn it over to Raúl, who is going to give us a lot more information on referral programs and how they work and how we can use them to reduce our customer acquisition cost.
Yeah, so well, thanks for the introduction. And I just want to say something before we start, before we dive into this. The whole idea behind a referral program is that you're turning your existing customers into your salespeople, into your marketing department, if you want. They're actually the best salespeople that you could possibly have in your store, because they're trusting you so much that they're willing to pay for your product or your service. So you should definitely leverage that and encourage them to make recommendations and make referrals to their friends and family. Actually, if you think about it, think about the last time that you recommended something to a friend or a family member. Think about that last restaurant that you recommended, that last hotel, that last product that you referred to someone. Or think about the last purchase that you made that was initiated by a referral. That's the power of it. And the thing is that if you have a store or an online business that has, you already have recurring purchases and you have a healthy customer base, you are already getting referrals. The only thing is that if you don't implement a loyalty or a referral program, there's nothing really that you can do to encourage those customers to keep referring you. Referrals happen naturally. That's the beauty of it. That's word of mouth, happens organically, but there's a lot more that you can do. We'll dive into this in a second. So before I continue, I just wanted to explain why I'm talking about this. So I'm the partner manager at ReferralCandy, which is a referral program app for e-commerce stores. We basically allow any e-commerce store to run a customer referral program. And we've also launched a product very recently that's called Candy Bar, which is a loyalty program solution for brick and mortar stores. So that's why we're combining both loyalty and referrals here. Okay, so a few stats that I wanted to bring to show the power of referral programs. So the first one is that increasing customer retention by just 5% can boost profits by at least 25%. And that makes a lot of sense. Whitney, I think you mentioned something like this earlier. It's just the fact that you're getting rid of all those customer acquisition costs of acquiring a customer. They are already part of your customer base. They already know your product. They already they've had the chance to actually touch and feel and use your product. So it just makes sense that you convince them to keep coming back for more. And something else I wanted to bring is that this is actually a stat from a report by Nielsen Research, is that 77% of consumers, this is a survey that was run with U.S. consumers, 77% of consumers were more likely to purchase a new product when hearing about from family and friends. And just following up on what I just said a couple minutes ago, it just makes a lot of sense. The fact that we're paying so much attention to what our friends and family are saying to us and what they're recommending to us for several reasons. The first one is that we are completely surrounded by content marketing and ads. Think about it from the moment that you wake up in the morning to the moment that you go to bed at night. You are hearing ads, looking at ads, you're interacting with them on your smartphone. And so we have developed a way to kind of avoid paying attention to this ad unless they're really good, unless they really stand out from the crowd. And that's why marketers need to get really creative on this to catch your attention. But something that will not or should never lose your attention is your family and friends. And so we're paying attention to them actively. And so any recommendation that's coming from them, we're going to hear it, and we're going to pay a lot more attention than if we see it on an ad on Facebook. And also the second reason of why this makes sense is because they don't sound salesy. They're not trying to sell you something just for the sake of it. They're recommending something to you that it's valuable. Yeah, sure, maybe they're getting some sort of reward. Maybe they're getting a discount on their next purchase, or they're getting some sort of cash reward. But think about it. No one from your family or friends circle will recommend you something that is not going to be good for you just because they're getting a small reward. So that's the power of referrals, and that's why encouraging people to refer by giving rewards or giving incentives, it just makes sense because they're going to happen anyway. So it's a way for you to boost them. And for those of you who are working on B2B, this is actually something that I find very interesting, is the fact that 84% of B2B decision makers begin the purchasing process with a referral. And if you look at it, it's actually higher than the stat that we showed before. It was about 77. And it makes sense because B2B purchases usually include more than just your wallet or your credit card. This is your responsibility as well, because you're probably working with a budget and you want to make sure that what you're buying, it's efficient and it's good for the company that you own or the company that you work for. So it's true that you're probably going to ask for recommendations or referrals when making a purchase like this. So we're talking about today about ways to increasing customer retention and reducing your customer acquisition costs through several ways. And right now we're talking about referral programs. But the bottom line here is what you really need for your store are better customers. And this is actually running a referral program can help you get better customers. And this is a experiment that I wanted to share with you guys that I found very interesting. This is a study that was done less than 10 years ago from two universities, one in Frankfurt and also the University of Pennsylvania. And they wanted to answer the question, are referred customers more valuable than non-referred customers? And they wrote this in a paper that was called Referral Programs of Customer Value. And what they did is that they partnered with a bank that had recently acquired 5,000 customers through a referral program. They also had customers that had obviously acquired through all their channels, but they wanted to compare them, see how they perform over a span of 33 months. These 5,000 customers that had joined the bank as customers, they had received a reward of 25 euros. So they compared them, and the results were very interesting on the line of what we're discussing right now. So these referred customers ended up having a 25% higher profit margins for the bank than traditional ones. And the reason is because customers who were recommending the bank to their friends and family, they were not making recommendations just to everyone they knew. They were actually picking their friends and their family and their coworkers who matched their profile. In this case, that matched their financial situation and financial needs because they thought they would be a good fit for the bank. So I said earlier that you want to turn your customers into your salespeople because they actually are your best salespeople. And in this case, they went so far as qualifying leads for the bank. So they say, okay, I can recommend friends and family, but who do I know that it's going to be a good fit for this bank in particular? Well, probably someone that has a similar fit or similar situation as the one that I do, which is why I'm a customer of this bank. And the other the other result that this study shown is that these customers that were acquired through a referral program were almost 20% less likely to leave. And we can use the same example or the same explanation that I mentioned earlier. It's just the fact they're a better fit because they were pre-selected by existing customers, kind of like if they were part of some sort of club. But if you think about it, these customers were doing a good job actually by picking potential customers for the bank. And so that's why most of them were a really good fit for this particular product or for this particular service. And so that's why they stayed longer with the bank. And obviously the lifetime value of those customers was much higher. And so before we go, I wanted to show you guys a couple of examples of extremely successful referral programs that we've seen around in this past, I would say it's not only decade, but this past almost 30 years now. And I'll explain why, but I'm sure that most of you that are watching this right now have probably been part of at least one of these two programs. So I'm going to go with the first one, which is Dropbox. So Dropbox use a referral program. I'm not sure if they still run it, but it's been around forever. They had a referral program that was actually one of their key components of the growth and the situation that they have right now as a very successful company. And this referral program that they run helped them get 4 million users in just 15 months, which is incredible. It's an incredible result. And all they were doing, it's giving free storage to customer who were signing up, but also free storage to existing customers. So let's say that you start with 1 gigabyte of free storage, but you can expand it up to 16 gigabytes if you keep inviting friends. So let's say you're getting 1 free gigabyte for every friend that creates a free account on Dropbox. So they were given free storage in exchange for free users. And so that's why a lot of people ended up having a lot of storage on Dropbox because they were inviting their friends and their friends were creating free accounts. And this allowed them to get 4 million users in 15 months and starting at 100,000. And the most important part is that they were able to bypass the traditional ad spend, which for a product like Dropbox, which is about $99 a year, it was between $200 and $400 per customer. And the second example for a referral program that I wanted to bring to you guys, it's PayPal, which this is something they run during the early 2000s. So that's why I was going back to probably not 30 years, but 20 years. And during the early 2000s, I don't know if many of you were around hanging out in the internet back then. I don't think I personally was. I'll have to see, but I don't think I was hanging around in the internet yet. But basically, PayPal was giving away free money to their existing customers for inviting their friends to join their referral program. So they will give you a small amount, between $5 and $10 for every friend. And so obviously they ended up spending a lot of money. They spent about $60 million on their referral incentives, but they were able to get 100 million members to join PayPal, which basically turned them into the company that they are right now. And look at that stat there. They were able to get 7 to 10% daily growth, which it's an incredible stat for just about every company out there. And so just to kind of wrap up with this, like I mentioned earlier, if you are running a business and you already have a steady number of orders and you have a steady number of customers that keep coming back, you are already getting word of mouth. You are already acquiring customers through word of mouth. But the difference is that if you don't have a referral program or some sort of incentive for your customers to recommend you, there's really nothing you can do to boost this. And as you can see, it's a very, 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 very profitable marketing channel.
Thanks so much, Raul. And thank you so much for joining us. I think this was a really interesting couple of case studies that we looked at. And I think that moving from passive word of mouth, which happens naturally, to being more active with it and rewarding your customers, it's not just about obtaining new customers through this word of mouth, but it's also about customer retention, because you're actually rewarding your customer for saying, hey, tell your family and friends. I think that's just incredibly powerful.
Absolutely. And again, it's all about making sure that your customers know that there's an incentive for not only recommending, not only for their friends, but also for themselves, so they can keep coming back to your store. So it's about, it's literally all what we discussed today. It's acquiring new customers at a lower cost and making sure that the ones that you already have, stick around for longer.
Absolutely. So thanks everybody for joining us today. I am super excited to see what kind of questions that you have for us today.